Life tested Linda and Quang with relentless hardship, yet love and sacrifice became their greatest strength. Linda worked tirelessly, saving every hard-earned coin to help Quang rebuild his shattered dreams, even gifting him a shirt to remind him of his worth. When Quang received her sacrifices, eye-stained tears awakened his determination. He would rise again, not for himself, but for her. From sweat-soaked labor to sleepless nights of planning, his vow to give Linda the life she deserved burned stronger each day. Don't miss this moving journey of love, resilience, and hope. Subscribe now and join their story. Linda worked tirelessly from dawn until late at night, her slender hands roughened by labor, her back soaked with sweat under the scorching sun or the chill of the evening air. Life had not been kind to her, but she never once allowed herself to fall into despair. Every day, she pushed herself forward, taking on work after work, from cleaning houses to sewing clothes, from serving at a small food stall to helping with odd jobs in the neighborhood. It did not matter how humble or exhausting the work was. As long as she earned something, she was willing to endure. Each coin, each bill she earned seemed to carry the weight of her sacrifices, soaked in effort and perseverance. She never thought of buying herself something nice, never allowed the temptation of a new dress or a hot meal to sway her. Instead, she carefully folded every bit of money she made and stored it away as if it were a treasure. For her, it was not just money, it was hope, a fragile yet unyielding seed she planted for the future she envisioned with Quang. Whenever she was exhausted to the point of collapse, she would remind herself of his eyes, once bright with dreams, now clouded with worry. That image alone gave her the strength to keep moving, to endure hunger and fatigue without a word of complaint. At night, when the world quieted down, Linda would sit by the small window of her rented room, counting the money she had saved. Her fingers trembled as she touched the worn-out bills, not because the sum was large, but because she knew how many sacrifices they represented. She whispered softly to herself, imagining the day she would finally place that money into Quang's hands. It was not just for business, not just for survival, but for him to believe once again in his own worth, to remind him that failure did not define him. Alongside the savings, she had also set aside a little to buy him something he had never asked for but deeply deserved, a fine shirt, something simple yet elegant, to remind him that he could still stand tall with dignity no matter what he had gone through. There were moments when her body ached so much that tears welled in her eyes, but she quickly brushed them away. Linda had always believed that love was not just words spoken in moments of joy, but the silent sacrifices made when life tested their strength. She told herself that as long as Quang could rebuild his dreams, as long as he could see a brighter path ahead, all her hardships would be worth it. To others, she might have appeared as just a woman struggling endlessly, but deep in her heart, Linda felt an unwavering pride. She was not simply working for survival, she was fighting for their future. And so with every sunrise, she tied her hair back, took a deep breath, and stepped back into the world of toil. The coins clinking in her pocket were not much, yet to her they shone brighter than gold. They were the proof of her devotion, the embodiment of her love. For Linda, there was no greater joy than knowing that one day, when she placed both the savings and that carefully chosen shirt into Quang's hands, he would understand just how deeply she believed in him, how much of her strength, her hope, and her life she had poured into that simple, unspoken promise: we will rise again, together. The day Linda finally placed the small bundle of savings into Quang's hands, along with the neatly wrapped shirt she had chosen for him, time seemed to stand still. Quang froze as he looked down at the money, worn-out bills that carried the unmistakable scent of labor and sacrifice, and then at the shirt, its fabric still carrying the faint fragrance of new cloth. His throat tightened, his chest felt heavy, and for a long moment he could not speak. In that fragile silence, he understood something that words could never fully capture. Linda had given him not just money, not just a gift, but a piece of her soul, her sleepless nights, her calloused hands, and her unshakable faith in him. His fingers trembled as he picked up the shirt, feeling its texture, softer than anything he owned. It was not just clothing, it was dignity, a symbol that he could still walk through the world with his head held high. And then he looked at the stack of money, carefully tied with a ribbon Linda must have saved from some package, and the tears he had been holding back finally broke free. They streamed down his face, hot and unrelenting, as he thought of every moment Linda must have suffered in silence, every hour she must have bent her back to earn these meager sums. She knew she had gone without, depriving herself of comfort, warmth, and rest, all so she could place hope back into his hands. Quang clutched the money and the shirt tightly against his chest, as if afraid they might vanish. His voice cracked when he finally managed to speak. "Linda, why did you put yourself through all this?" But even as the words left his lips, he already knew the answer. She smiled gently, her eyes tired, yet glowing with quiet determination. "Because I believe in you," she whispered. "You may have lost everything once, but that doesn't mean it's the end. This is just the beginning again. Take it, Quang. Start over. For us." Those words pierced through him like a spark lighting a dying flame. Quang had once been full of ambition, dreams of building something of his own, but failure had crushed him, leaving him lost in shame and despair. Now, staring at the woman before him, frail yet unbreakable, he realized how selfish it would be to wallow in his own defeat when she had endured so much more for his sake. Every tear he shed was not just grief, but also a vow. He fell to his knees, holding Linda's hands as if they were the only lifeline he had left. "I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you," he whispered hoarsely, his forehead pressed against her fingers. But Linda gently lifted his chin, forcing him to meet her gaze. "You deserve more than you think," she said softly. "You just have to believe it again. And when you stumble, I'll be here to steady you. Always." In that moment, Quang felt both broken and reborn. The weight of the money in his hands was heavy, but not nearly as heavy as the love it represented. He understood that what Linda had given him was more than a chance to start again. It was a second life, a reminder that even in the darkest of failures, someone still saw the light within him. His tears continued to fall, but beneath them something stirred. Determination, fierce and unyielding. He rose to his feet slowly, gripping the money and the shirt as though they were sacred. His voice, though choked with emotion, carried a newfound strength. "I will not waste this," he vowed, his eyes shining through the tears. "I will rebuild everything, not just for me, but for you, Linda. You've carried me through my weakness, but from this day on, I swear I will carry us both toward a better future." Linda said no more. She simply nodded, her eyes glistening, her heart swelling with quiet relief. For in Quang's tears, in his trembling vow, she saw the man she had always believed in slowly rising again. With the shirt pressed against his chest and the fragile bundle of money gripped tightly in his hand, Quang felt as though a storm inside him had quieted, only to be replaced by a blazing fire. His eyes, still red from tears, now burned with a light that had long been extinguished. The despair that had once chained him was giving way to determination, raw and unshakable. He looked at Linda, her tired frame, her gentle smile, the silent strength in her gaze, and he knew he could no longer allow her to bear the weight of our lives alone. From this moment on, he had to rise. Every day afterward, Quang worked harder than ever at the construction site. The sun scorched his skin, dust clung to his clothes, and his muscles ached with exhaustion, but none of it mattered. With every brick he lifted, every wall he helped raise, he whispered a vow to himself. This is for Linda. This is for us. His callous hands bled at times, but instead of pain, he felt a strange pride. Those wounds were proof that he was rebuilding, not just houses, but the foundation of their shared future. At night, when he returned to his small room, he would unfold the shirt Linda had given him and place it neatly beside his bed. He had not yet worn it, for to him it was not merely clothing. It was a symbol of the man he needed to become. Each time his weary eyes fell upon it, he felt renewed strength surge through him. He knew he would wear it one day, not as a laborer covered in dust and sweat, but as the man Linda believed he could be. The man who had risen from ruin to stand tall again. Linda too noticed the change in him. She saw how his back, once bent with defeat, now straightened with resolve. She watched how his eyes, once clouded with hopelessness, now gleamed with purpose. Though life remained difficult, there was an unspoken joy in their days. In the evenings, as they shared simple meals together, Quang often caught her hand mid-conversation, squeezing it gently as if to reassure her, "I'm not going to let you suffer anymore." Linda would smile, saying nothing, for she needed no words. She already saw the promise in his every action. But Quang's determination did not end with earning his daily wage. He spent late nights studying old notes and scribbling plans, his mind restless with ideas of how to start again. He sketched small business models, thought of ways to turn his labor into something lasting, and imagined ventures that could grow beyond survival. Each new idea was fueled by the memory of Linda handing him that bundle of money. He could almost hear her voice urging him, "Start again, believe again." There were nights when exhaustion threatened to break him, when doubts crept in like shadows whispering of failure. Yet in those moments, he remembered Linda's worn-out hands, the quiet sacrifices she had made without complaint, and his heart hardened with resolve. If she could endure so much for him, then he could endure anything for her. Giving up was no longer an option. And so the man who once believed he had nothing left slowly began to see himself anew. He was no longer defined by loss, but by the strength of his love, the fire of his determination, and the unwavering belief of the woman who stood by his side. Holding the shirt and the money close to his heart, Quang vowed that one day, Linda would no longer need to struggle, no longer need to sacrifice. One day, she would live the life she deserved, safe, cherished, and proud of the man who had rebuilt not only his own dreams, but theirs together. In that vow, Quang found his purpose. And in that purpose, a new chapter of their lives quietly began.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tưởng Ninja Review. Vậy là tập phim ngày hôm nay của chúng ta đã kết thúc tại đây. Trong tập phim ngày hôm nay thì Ninja đã tặng Quang một món quà rất là bất ngờ. Đó chính là số tiền mà cô đã làm động vất vả tích góp để cho Quang khởi nghiệp này. Và cô cũng đã tặng Quang một chiếc áo sơ mi trắng để động viên tinh thần anh sau những ngày làm việc vất vả. Quang đã rất cảm động vì món quà của Linda, mẹ Quang cũng rất là quý Linda. Vậy không biết rằng với sự quyết tâm và sự ủng hộ của mẹ và Linda, Quang có thể gây dựng lại sự nghiệp để đem lại cho Linda cuộc sống tốt đẹp hơn hay không? Tất cả sẽ được hé lộ vào các tập tiếp theo. Các bạn hãy đón xem nhé. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại. Bye bye.